Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I want to make a fairly helpful video for most of you guys who are looking to buy a PC. Within these coming months now, there are going to be some hardware changes and there's going to be some releases, and then I'll probably make an updated video depending on if these computers change. But because these are fairly budget PCs, I don't think that they're going to change too much, just because supply doesn't work like that when we're looking at like how low end these things are. I mean, they're not terrible, but again, they're definitely not what I would really consider to be a really nice gaming PC. But I think the $600 price range is what most people are looking for, or what most people can afford when it comes to having a gaming PC. Now, this is going to have better console performance that's out right now, but I'm not 100% sure what the Xbox Series X or the PS5 performance is going to be relative to these PCs. Now, I know that these things are going to be able to do a lot more in terms of just overall tasking. I mean, on PC you can do a lot more things than just strictly gaming. That is what a console is usually relegated to. But today I got a spreadsheet, cooked it up for you guys, put together myself, and we're taking a look at 4 budget companies that I have talked about in the past, and I will be putting cards up when I first start talking about each company, so you guys can go to their review if you guys want to go and check it out. But right now, we're starting off with Lyte Gaming PCs. This is a fairly well-known brand out there. I think most people have probably seen one of their ads on YouTube or on Instagram. They do a lot of branding, and we'll be taking a look at probably one of their biggest selling PCs that they have out there, which is the Lyte Hyper PC. It is a $600 PC, which again hits that really good price point of $600. And in terms of specs, we got an i5 3470, a fairly old i5, but shouldn't really be that bad for just mostly gaming tasks. I probably wouldn't do any sort of productivity stuff. I mean, really, gaming is all you should be doing with this, considering that the GPU that you have is really just going to be bottlenecking you. The CPU, I mean, you might be able to edit some videos here and there, but it's not really going to be a fun experience. I know that coming from Ryzen and stuff like that, it's really nice to have these newer processors, and these older ones are kind of showing their age now. Now, in terms of RAM, we got 8 gigs of DDR3, enough to game, but I wouldn't really say it's comfortable enough, because some games I know used up to 10 gigs. Games that have a lot of assets that need to be loaded in will use up a lot of your RAM. So I think 8 gigs is enough for most like competitive games like CSGO, League of Legends, all those games that are meant to run on basically anything. It should be fine. But again, I don't think it's really where a whole lot of people want it to be. Now, for our GPU, we have a GTX 1063 gig card, a fine card right now. Again, we're going to have to see how this thing ages. Once the new GeForce GPUs come out, that's going to be a bit of a shock for a lot of people in terms of performance, I feel like. As well, AMD is supposedly going to be releasing their brand new RDNA 2 series cards. So again, not 100% sure how these graphics cards are going to work here in the future, but for right now, it's fine. Got a 128 gigabyte SSD, 1TB hard drive, a 500 watt 80 plus power supply, and I kind of made an upgradability factor up on here, and it's fairly low. You're really not going to be able to upgrade this thing a whole lot. Alright, so VRLA Tech is another company that I talk about a fair bit. Cards should be popping up here in a second. And the processor that we got on this is a Ryzen 3 3200G, a fairly recent processor. I think it came out like last year. It still kicks around. It's going to be beating your performance off this 3470. And again, it's fairly new, so you're going to be having some pretty newer motherboard parts. So the upgradability on this machine is going to be fairly high. You're going to have 16 gigs of DDR4, which is double the capacity of what this system has. As well, it is DDR4, so it's just going to run faster than what DDR3 speeds are going to get you. And our GPUs are roughly the same. You've got 1 more gig of VRAM on this, so some games might utilize that more than others. But in terms of just overall processor performance, I mean, the GTX 1060 is going to perform better in some games, and then the RX 570 is going to perform better in others. Now, this is kind of where the Rogue kind of falls behind. They don't have an SSD, so it's going to make the system seem a little bit more laggy than the Lyte Tech one, just because having an SSD right now I feel like should be standard. But just to save a little bit of money, I think VRLA Tech copped out on a pretty important part of your system. Now, again, you can throw one in yourself if you want to have those faster load times. But I mean, the hard drive really shouldn't be that bad. And in terms of everything else, we got the same stuff: a 1TB hard drive, 1TB hard drive, And then we've got 500 watt 80 plus power supply on both. So as of right now, I'd probably recommend the VRLA Tech one over the Lyte Tech Gaming. So another lesser known company that I've also taken a look at, it's called Maxferris. And one of their PCs, I think base pricing it's pretty low. I think so it's $460 for the base model, but I wouldn't really recommend it. I'd definitely recommend, if you're going to get one of these PCs, to upgrade it, because you're coming with an RX 560, which should be fine at this price point for below $500. That's pretty great, but again, we're looking at $600 game PCs. So I opted for an upgraded GPU as well as a SSD. And that brought up our total to $610. I know it's a little bit over $600, but I'm sure that it should be fine for most of you. It's $10 more. So in terms of overall specs, the upgradability on this system is fairly low. You're going to have better performance off of this processor than the Lyte Gaming one. You do have 16 gigs of RAM, which is nice. You should be able to play games fine. And then the GTX 1650. Now, in terms of performance, it really matters, I guess, kind of which one you're getting. For the GTX 1650 model, I think they're roughly around the same, but if it's like a lower end version of the 1650, you're going to be underperforming than the RX 570. But if you get a nicer model, it should be around the same performance. Now for our SSD, which we did add, this is an upgraded version, so we have a 120 gigabyte SSD, which is basically the same thing that's on the Lyte Tech PC. And we're beating out the VRLA Tech Rogue on here. And we've got a 500 gigabyte hard drive, which is less than what all of these ones got. And then a 43080 plus power supply. So in terms of who's in the lead right now, it's definitely VRLA Tech. That's really why I recommend these guys a whole lot. But I said we had 4 companies that we're looking at, and the 4th one is going to be Econ Gaming. Now, I took a look at these guys a little while back, and they did message me and stuff like that, and said after my initial review that they did change some of their specs on their system, which is pretty dope. They actually added some really good value parts onto here. So for our processor, it's going to be the same thing that we have on our VRLA Tech. We've got the same amount of RAM, but we have a better GPU, an RX 580, just a step up from the RX 570. It's a really good 1080p graphics card. Then we've got a 248 gigabyte SSD, which is much better than we have on any other system. A 1 terabyte hard drive, a 500 watt PSU, and fairly high upgradability. Now, all the links to these guys' computers are going to be down in the description as well. Check out the cards that I've placed on every single one of these if you guys want to rewind. It will show up when I first start talking about each individual company. If you guys want to listen to my just recommendation for those companies, I think Lyte Tech and VRLA Tech are the 2 biggest ones, so you should have a fairly decent customer support and reliability system going through those guys. But as Maxferris and Econ Gaming go, they are much smaller companies. Econ Gaming has a pretty low operational cost, which is why I'm assuming they're able to get such good specs for their systems for, you know, such a low price. So my recommendation, guys, if you are looking for the absolute best performance and you're okay with maybe having to mess around with quality assurance, shipping stuff, because I don't think it's any fault of this company as well with Maxferris. They are both lower tier companies in terms of just production. You might not have the same experience that you might have with VRLA Tech, and that doesn't mean that VRLA Tech and all those guys are going to have amazing customer service and stuff like that. It's mostly just going to be they have a more refined version of it than the other companies. So yeah, I would suggest either VRLA Tech or Econ Gaming. You want to get a really cheap system, I would go with Maxferris. You can get a $500 gaming PC for a pretty decent price. Better value than what I would get from Lyte Gaming PCs. And yeah, I mean, it's their lowest end model, which is their Griffin, and it comes with a RX 560. But other than that, guys, thank you for watching. If you guys want to see more channel content, make sure to subscribe, leave a like on the video if you guys liked it, if you found it helpful, and hopefully we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.